Okay, every year people ask me what they should get their swimmer for Christmas, and I always tell them the same thing. Get a pair of drag socks made by Aquavolo. It's the perfect stocking stuffer for any swimmer. Honestly, there's no simpler training tool to build power in the water than a pair of drag socks. Go to aquavolo.com and use the code BRETT, BRETT, at checkout and save 10%. I'd like to introduce our newest sponsor, Swim Angelfish. Swim Angelfish is an online certification program that strengthens your teaching curriculum to serve swimmers of all abilities. Swim Angelfish will prepare you and your instructors with the skills to teach swimmers with autism, physical disabilities, anxiety, sensory and motor conditions, and more. Learn to teach skills faster and with more comfort with Swim Angelfish. Apply for an Only Alpha Pool Product Scholarship and receive up to 50% off your certification. Go to swimangelfish.com today to apply. Event, heat, lane, name of swimmer, times and places. It's called Swim Nerd Live, and it allows the data and times from your actual scoreboard to be broadcast and viewed in real time on any smart TV, phone, or other device. There are so many things you can do with this software. A very simple and easy to use necessity for any team or facility that is live streaming their meets results. One click on any device and they're watching your swim meet live in real time. Go to swimpractice.com to learn more. Looking to host your first swim meet or replacing an old timing system? Run a swim meet with ease from your laptop using Superior Swim Timing. You can use Superior Swim Timing with your existing equipment, or they can provide you with a complete timing solution, including deck harnesses, buttons, and starter. SST is fully compatible with Hy-Tek and Team Unify, as well as Colorado, Daktronics, and Amiga touchpads. Go to superiorswimtiming.com to learn more, and be sure to tell them I sent you. Hey, we're on. Grant House. What's up, buddy?
Not much. Just woke up from my nap. Just getting ready for afternoon practice, and glad to be here.
The nap, man. Well, I don't know when this podcast is going to drop, but you're just coming off a massive weekend of swimming and racing. Congrats on that.
Thank you. It was quite a surreal meet for us, and really glad that ASU's kind of starting to turn the corner for sure.
So talk to me about this. So you guys were out last year. I mean, the decision was to kind of sit out the COVID year. It was a little bit controversial. I thought more people would follow. They really didn't. Just start with that then. How did you feel about the situation last year?
Yeah, it was quite interesting, quite unique, quite surreal. But it was definitely, I think, the best decision in the moment. You know, like even Texas, they had their meet in December because effectively everyone in the NCAA, no matter who says what, didn't know if the NCAA championship was actually going to happen until probably February, maybe at the end of January. But even all the guys on Texas, they had their meet because they didn't know if the NCAA championship was even going to happen in March. So I think with so much unknown and with all the travel implications and aspects, university to university, it just would have made it near almost a near impossible task to make sure everyone's safe, everyone's healthy, and everyone stays on the a training program, because I'm sure dozens of people had several different ones last year, given everything that was going on. But I think it was the best decision. I know our team needed the year really to grow and improve, and I think that's amplified now, kind of the long-term bet for the short-term sacrifice, if you may.
Yeah, it kind of feels that way now after watching the results from the weekend. It's like ASU just exploded. It's like, oh, we're back, so that's that's cool. But during the time, were there doubts? Was there, concerns? I mean, you do see that all of a sudden they're having the conference championships. They're going to have the NCAAs. Is it kind of like, damn, I wish we kind of had at that point in time?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think for almost everyone on the team, I think that's just kind of the itch to go fast, though, for across the country. You see the invites start popping off. You see the invites from last week. You see the invites a day before your meet, and even just every year for the conference championships, like the Pac-12 conference goes last, typically, the men at least. And, seeing SECs, it's like, oh man, I want to race now. It's like, okay, well, you got to wait 2 weeks. And then Big Tens, ACCs, I want to race now. And it's just the same principle. It's just a lot more removed from that. But I think everyone was definitely getting the itch, and we had plenty of opportunities to race at ASU at Mona Plummer. But those were obviously like more unofficial. We had a couple sanctioned times, but it was just our timing system on touchpads and stuff like that we saw the results, fortunately, and we knew, and that was really beneficial for us. But it didn't really make any headlines, obviously, or no one else knew. It was just kind of us, so it was kind of like a weird spot. But that at least satisfied some desire, craving to need to go faster, missing it. But yeah, it was definitely around those times, championship March. Like, hey, we want to show what we can do. We want to show what we've been doing, because the year before, when COVID kind of came onto the scene, and early that year, I was in my waiver year for the Olympics, but the guys and the girls in the team were, quite frankly, just popping off. I mean, posting times, top 3 relays in the country, new team records, and just having a really strong showing of Pac-12s, especially on the men's side. And we had a couple women qualifying in the top 10 as well individually. And so that was really when I was like the most excited to see them doing so well, with so many missing pieces that I knew that we had waiting in the wings at that point, and looking towards the future. But to know that the guys were hitting on all cylinders so well at Pac-12s, I was really excited to see what ASU could show everyone at NCAAs in 2020, and then kind of had NCAAs pulled out from everyone then.
I was going to say that, like, in terms of the training cycle and the mentality behind it, it wasn't just we're going to train for a year. Then it wasn't just like a block of work. You guys actually did have some time to put some suits on and get some racing in, because it really did go under the radar. I didn't see anything on it. You guys did an amazing job of keeping it quiet, if that was the case.
Yeah, kind of working in the shadows, if you may. I think that's one of like Herbie Behm, one of our coach here, and Coach Bowman's biggest like sentiments is just doing our work. Like, we don't need the credit, we don't need all the headline, all the razzle dazzle with it, and just knowing that we're trusting what we're doing and doing it well, especially. And we have the people here that know what caliber and know what level of excellence needs to be ensued, and kind of keeping that on the day-to-day commitment. But I mean, in the fall, we had one meet that was, I think, sanctioned to get some people some Olympic trial cuts, and then also swam like some short course times to know where people were at. And then we had a sectionals meet out here at, it was like satellite sites, and then at Phoenix Swim Club at night. That was short course. That was kind of our short course opportunity to see where everyone was at that point. But in the fall, the coaches made the decision to, every Friday afternoon, this was like one of my favorite things. We suited up and raced every Friday afternoon for about 4 or 5 or 6 weeks straight. And then I think 2 of the weeks were just kind of how the pool was set. And then for 4 or 5 of the weeks, it was like meet format, touch pads, everything in, and just going through every week the Pac-12 lineup. So like first day, the relay and the medley, the second day, 5 free, 2 IM, 50 free, like so on and so forth. One time we did some skins, we did some similar pattern to like ISL. But just every Friday afternoon, just keeping us in the racing mentality, keeping us in a racing cycle, and then getting to winter training, get that block, and coming out of it, going to sectionals, and then ultimately always preparing for Olympic trials in the last year.
Cool. I want to get into that for sure. But I want to just jump back maybe the year before that. So this is kind of the redshirt year for everybody, but you had kind of had a redshirt year before this. Were you dealing with some mental health issues then? Is that what was going on?
Not as much not the primary aspect for me.
Okay.
But I just felt like I really wanted to zero in on training for 2020, my ultimate goals and aspirations. But it was definitely after 19, it was definitely a hard spot.
Okay. So what do you mean? I mean, I know you and I had talked about the fact that you had some issues with your mental health, and you mentioned a hard spot. So like, what exactly were you going through? Do you want to share any of that?
Yeah. I think it really started for me in like 2016 after Olympic trials when I did pretty amazingly horrible. And it was really like one of my first bigger meets. I'd say outside 2015 and Junior World Championships, that I really didn't succeed on a really big stage. And I never really like took the time to like dive into it. I just kind of like, okay, well, I need to take a step back and then I'll come back better. And then so fast forward a couple more years, it kind of caught up to me, kind of lingered around with me. You know, we had my freshman year NCAAs wasn't that great. Sophomore year was a little bit worse. Not that great for our team again. And then I had a pretty breakout year that freshman summer to qualify me for the Pan American Games and the World University Games.
Mm-hmm.
And that summer we had pretty intensive training up at the Olympic Training Center for about 2 stints of like, I think a total of like 45 days. And I did my whole training cycle for, I think it was World University Games first, left, came back, was in Tempe for like maybe 1 or 2 days, and then went back to the Olympic Training Center, and then went to Pan American Games after that for another travel international meet. And so it was just like kind of this constant like high caliber performance for like, it just felt like 60 or 70 days with everything. And I think that just took its like toll on me. I know I'd had calls where I was just like kind of at my breaking point for so long, I think, of like physical and like mental durability. I know I called my brother Kyle like 3 or 4 times over that time, like crying. Like I was like, dude, I don't think I have this in me. Like, I don't know what's going on. I'm not normally like broken down like this. I just hadn't really experienced like an intensity that high thus far in my career, in my life. And it was definitely taking its toll, and definitely had to take some time. And, you know, I went to Pan American Games and World University Games, and I succeeded ultimately. But I think what stood out to me was I still felt like I was failing. Like mission accomplished for World University Games and getting a gold medal. And, you know, I saw one of my friends and role model for me, like Zach Apple, like light it up in the meet. And I think selfishly, I was like, well, I know there's a higher level that I can be operating at. Why am I not? And, you know, that's just where he was at his development. And it wasn't that point for me. And I think at the time I didn't recognize that as much, but I was definitely like, yeah, I'm just like failing. I didn't look at the success or the successes that were happening, you know, like a gold medal representing America, or like 2 silver medals representing America at the Pan American Games, and finals opportunity and individually for the first time internationally. So I wasn't acknowledging and really focusing on those, but rather like, oh, I didn't perform to what I wanted or what I thought, or all these expectations. And when I kind of took a step back, I was like, wow, like I need to kind of reevaluate some things and why I'm doing this.
How did it manifest in you? Was it just severe exhaustion? Was it depression? Did you have to then seek counseling and medication or anything like that?
Yeah, no, never any medication. I think for me it was seeking counseling. I had
Mm-hmm.
some school sports psychs here at ASU, phenomenal work. I dove into a company called Ristoic. I started looking into them. I know Tom Shields and Olivia Smoliga. They have connections with that company as well. And so I started kind of like, I was like, well, if they've had success with that, I started dabbling in it too, and really enjoyed it a lot. Something like kind of like a pocket little mental practices, mental exercises you can do, and really got a lot of benefit out of that in combination with the sports psychologist I was working with here at ASU. And it was kind of funny. I went there, obviously I was like, okay, I got to get everything with my sport going back on track. And I think we spent like the first 10 minutes talking about swimming. And then I like everything after that was just kind of grasping everything else going on in my life, like how I handle myself, how I talk to myself, how I engage with things, how appreciative, grateful, what I acknowledge in my day, journaling. I think I hadn't been journaling ever really until I started seeing a counselor. And from then on, like I've done it almost every day. It's a huge practice of mine. Like this, leading up into trials, one of the main staples that I would do with that I worked out with my coach, like Herbie Behm, was like wake up, journal, like read some philosophy, read a book, and just like don't engage with my phone, don't engage with anything else other than like what calms down, what centers Grant House. And that's been like huge. Every day at Olympic trials, every day we did a test set. I did it every day at a travel meet this past week. It just helps me align my focuses for the day and bring attention to what I want to accomplish and to help those around me the most I can each day.
Man, it seems like there's not a person on earth that really hasn't been affected negatively by this phone thing, like it's just like this thing follows you everywhere, doesn't it? It's just like, even while I'm talking to you, this thing is buzzing right now. And it's like, it's the first thing you pick up. It's the last thing you look at. We talk about Steve Jobs and how, fascinating, how incredible he was, but I also think there's certainly a negative effect that some of this technology has had on all of us, but it seems like as well on the athletic side is that you can't get away from it because now everybody's connected to everybody. So now you've got everybody's opinions in your head. Now you've got everybody's thoughts and values in terms of what they think about you, kind of reflecting back onto you. Is that stuff you were taking in as well? And not only that, is like you talk about Zach Apple and the success he's had, that's in your face as well. So it's kind of like you see other people around you supposedly having fun and being successful, and then your reflection of yourself is like, I suck, I'm not doing well. And so it's like this double negative kind of thing,
Yeah, it's definitely like, I think almost a compounding aspect. It's I see it a lot, like two adages, like you only see the best on like social media or social platforms and you never see what's real. And I try to be like transparent on mine as I can on a lot, but even like when I'm putting stuff up, like sometimes it's just like, did this include everything? And I don't think anyone can ever say yeah. Because I don't know. It's just an aspect of it. But yeah, it is interesting. Like you see all the good, all the success typically of it. And you don't always see what the struggle is or the hardships of it until like it's kind of someone talks about it and is rather like brutally or just sincerely honest with what they're doing. And I think a lot of people, when they see that honesty, will like label it or judge it sometimes, and rather than just simply accepting it. But I think for me, like a couple big things is like when I have morning practice, I don't look at my phone at all before. I turn on airplane mode at night, like an hour before I go to bed, so I don't receive anything. And then I also just don't turn off airplane mode until after my practice. So sometimes that's after our 6 a.m. And then on Tuesday, Thursdays is like one of my favorite days where we have it at like 10 and I wake up at like 7:45 and I have like an hour and 15 minutes until I like start to go to practice to read, journal, and just like be by myself in my apartment, just kind of collecting my thoughts.
Yeah, and that's just not you talking there, because I've had trouble kind of connecting with you, even just to get on the podcast here. You would answer me at random times, kind of thing, and so it's obvious that you just have a section of time where you pick up your phone and you answer things, and then you put it away. So, I mean, and the other thing is, the reason why we're talking too is because I've noticed you on social media, and you tend to be a lot more honest than most athletes out there. You're okay to talk about when you're having a great day, and you're okay to talk about when you're having a bad day. And I kind of like that, man. Like it's refreshing, and it's real. Like I look at you as like a real person, you know, on social media, and I'm like, that's cool. I can connect with that kid, you know?
I appreciate that. And I think that's important. I think transparency is so vital in communication. Like if someone doesn't know that like they can empathize with you or you can empathize with them, that's a huge barrier, huge blocker. I think that I felt with people. But just like an acceptance of like, dude, I'm no like perfect textbook or
Mm-hmm.
perfect picture here myself. So like who am I to judge? And I haven't
Mm-hmm.
always felt like that. Like when I was kind of struggling, like at the end of the 2019 summer, like too, like that's really when I started like diving into all this and like through all the quarantine phase of like 2020 and every like closure and all that stuff, like really had time to just, there wasn't anything else to do. Like we didn't swim I didn't touch water for 14 weeks at one point. And what else? Like I just had time to work on myself. And so it's really important, I think, to take that time because if you can't be the best version of yourself, then you can't get the best version of yourself for others around you. And that's what really the waiver year for the Olympics and then the redshirt year allowed me to learn and see and kind of watch the team from afar, especially from like a third person lens, and really examine like the inner workings of seeing a team function organically in an environment, in different environments, and to see how things kind of happen on their own with or without you, was pretty powerful and profound for me. But taking that time for yourself is so huge. And I think people just see it as being selfish, but selfish doesn't always, nor should it like always be a negative connotation. It should just be a simple fact and a simple necessity that people need to have in their lives.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about kind of this summer then. You know, the Olympics took place. How did you feel about your preparation and your performances at the trials?
Yeah, I was pretty pleased with my performance at trials. You know, obviously the end all be all goal of making the team wasn't accomplished, but I was pretty happy with it. I you know, given everything, and not, again, this is one of the things where just not people don't know. In 2019, um, coinciding with the waiver year, I actually completely fractured two ribs,
Hmm.
and went to U.S. Open with the two fractured ribs and swam pretty poorly. And then in January, we decided to change my training. I started training with Coach Herbie Behm here, and more kind of like a sprint hybrid, different training model and style than I'd ever done before. Started seeing success at Des Moines and leading into trials. Then they got canceled. And then when I came back in the fall, we definitely started kind of picking up right where we left off there. But for that whole time, I was kind of dealing with like this lingering rib issue. And leading into trials about 14 about a week or 10 days after Indianapolis, when we had a really good final like preparatory phase of competition at Indy in the Pro Series, I couldn't actually swim any of the strokes other than breathing to my right freestyle, probably doing no more than a 50 or 25 about, I'd say like 10 days to a week out from the meet, where I had to do like an IM or a 200 freestyle or 100 freestyle. So at that point, I was relatively like kind of freaking out. I will be honest, because I don't, just something happened in a training session one day and just like re-aggravated everything in my
Mm.
rib pain, for whatever reason. But you know, kudos to Coach Herbie. He kind of kept me in check, just kind of shut things down for like 2 days. He's like, all right, like we're in a resting phase anyways, so
Mhm.
more rest isn't isn't going to hurt us at this point, at least for a big guy like me too. And I take a lot of pride in like the work ethic and the work I put in, the body of work that I put in earlier before any of like the taper phases. So you know, I don't think more rest is ever going to hurt any athlete, really, especially like sleeping rest if you're doing that properly. But yeah, leading into trials, I was in a good headspace, great spot, emotionally, mentally, physically. And, you know, throughout trials, I think Herbie and I both talked about it. You know, there's a lot of curveballs from my experience at trials, which was pretty unique. But I mentally, emotionally, like we said, like I think I handled it as best as anyone could, or as definitely the best that I could, which is most important. Um, and handle any of these like audibles or Peyton Manning Omaha calls that we kind of got along the way. So it was definitely an up and down roller coaster, but all the work with like journaling, the philosophy, stoicism studies I've been like doing and look into and read, and the books I choose, really kept me on like a baseline, really kept me like even keel throughout all these ups and downs of the week. So, cause I think I kind of called it like odd man out syndrome. I was ninth, 17th, and then like 17th again. So it was kind of like, well, all right, I guess we're in the spot again.
Yeah, that's frustrating, but it just goes that way sometimes. But you're in a program with Bob Bowman, and obviously he's going to be talked about a lot. But Herbie is actually an incredible coach and doing good things. He's on Twitter, and he puts out some great stuff on Twitter, man. I love his stuff. Really good stuff. So talk to me about Herbie a little bit. Give him a little love.
Yeah. I mean, Herbie deserves a lot of love. I mean, he's a mastermind with what he does. He is just so in depth with physiology and psychology of like just human performance, and really just kind of evolving the sport. Like I really think, he's been here for 3 years. I think now, starting my sophomore year, I believe, and I didn't really have much interaction with him other than just like seeing him doing his thing in the back pool or on the side, because I was with Coach Bowman, and but he's been really revolutionary in like helping me find a bigger passion in this sport again. I think around that time that we talked about earlier, I was really struggling with like enjoying the sport and enjoying like being here, and that was really frustrating and confusing for me. But he kind of really helped me realign my passion and my vision of like, enjoying the process, enjoying the smallest improvements. Like I don't think I've ever been more excited about like 100th best time or like 100th improvement in practice than when I started working with him, because that's like really what he emphasizes is just like the smallest technical details of breaking down a 25, getting better at that, doing a ton of those, then doing more 50s, then getting really good at those, then breaking that down, then bumping it up again. Like just always changing the variety, always changing the intensity, and doing it in just a much different way of attacking our sport. I think track does a good job of it, but swimming really doesn't at all. But training for what you're going to be required to do at your highest performing level, instead of just doing like, I think there might be a time and a place for it, but just instead of doing like 10K every session or just 2 hours of like, oh, we got 2 hour time slot on practice, we're going to swim for 2 hours just cause.
Yeah.
But it's Herbie designates specific work specifically for what you're going to do. Like if you're not swimming a 400 IM, like you're not going to do 400 IM work. Like it's designated for me. I know when he gives out practices, it's like, okay, Grant plus maybe one other, but typically I have my own thing. And then Carter, Ethan Law, Cody Bybee here, John Heafy, Elijah here, breaststroke, like like 3 or 4 different workouts, almost everything. And I'm blown away by that. Like that is like incredible for me to see and see success. Like all those people had success at the meet this week and have had success before, and to like juggle all that. Maybe it's easier in his head, but as an athlete, like watching it just is impeccable. It's incredible rather than like a one size fits all. And he really takes time to like have a personable connection with his swimmers and athletes, and to know them and to know how they're responding and to take into consideration what they're doing. So I think he's one of the most revolutionary coaches in sport, but obviously I only see it in swimming right now, and that's my realm. But I think he will be one of the predominant coaches in years to come in this sport. And he is just an absolute undercover 100 right now, for sure.
Well, the covers have been pulled back. You just pulled him back, man. So
I guess so.
Look, he's awesome. I actually recruited him at Auburn. I did a home visit, and he rejected me. So I never got to coach Herbie, but I wish I had have. But no, he seems like he's doing great stuff, and it's good to hear that the sport's evolving through young, innovative, intelligent coaches. It's like a lot of the times, like I'll interview somebody who comes from a background of like, why have we been doing this for 30 years? Like, isn't there something else? Like, can't we move forward here? And to actually hear about a coach that's thinking that way too and implementing it, and then swimmers connecting with it and then having results from it. It's like there are other ways to do it. There's smarter ways, there's better ways. So good to hear Herbie's out there doing his thing. Are you with him every workout?
Yeah, I am now. It wasn't like that at the beginning. It was kind of, I was Bob. Then we got to a point Bob was like, "You're going to be with Herbie." I was pretty shocked. And then in lead
When
up
was
to
that? When did that happen?
2020 January,
Okay.
I swam at the Pro Series at Tennessee. Did rather not too great. And then Bob was just like, "We got to make a change." And so
Right.
that was the change. Start getting faster. Swam really pretty fast for me at Des Moines.
Cool.
And then we had a couple months there. And then when we came back, we were like, it was working. So let's stay there. And then there was some mix and match around Christmas training, like December month. And then around March leading into trials this summer, I would kind of do like 2 sessions with Bob, longer sessions. But then they decided that this year that I'm just solely with Herbie right now.
Well, good for Bob and making that decision too as the head coach. That takes a lot too, you know. So that's awesome to hear that he's entrusting his assistants fully with some of his best talent. So
Yeah, I mean,
that's
some
cool.
the other guys in the group are like phenomenal athletes. I mean, it's a battle every day. Like I'm definitely better
Mm,
because of them, and it's really neat to see like Bob's group of guys do so well, and Herbie's group of guys do so well, and like Coach Herka, Logan Herka, like his distance guys do their thing too at the meet, and it's not just like oh one person has to have like the power with this. It's
right.
that definitely I commend. I don't know if I would be able to be the same. Like I commend Bob a lot for like being like we got to try something new, especially like
Mm,
5 months out from like Olympic trials. Like that shocked me. I was a little uneasy. I had to talk with like both of them. Like
mm.
they had to help me kind of just like, okay, just trust us. And it was like, oh, when you put it that way, it's like, yeah, I trust both of you. So why wouldn't I trust this process?
Perfect. Good stuff, man. I love to hear that. Well, talk to me about this weekend then. I mean, you lit it up. Again, I was on Twitter and your name was just popping off left and right. I'm like, Grant is tearing it up. Well, what happened out there, man?
Yeah, I mean, I knew I was going to be on the podcast, so I had to make sure I had a good reputation leading into it. But no, it was an exciting week. I mean, we my group prepared pretty well for this meet. I knew based on the training, like the caliber of training, I was due for a pretty good meet. I don't think I expected to do as well as I did. I've never really had like a extremely like big sprint meet like this before. So it's pretty exciting for me. I'm a big relay guy, above like
Mm,
anything else. Like always like swimming for a larger cause, always like competing for my team or my teammates around me. Like has always just excited me more throughout my whole life. Always like invigorated me more with more passion, since high school, especially club. And I just wanted to be on all the relays. I think I took Herbie aside and talked to him about it like 2 weeks before, and I was like, I feel like I can do the most and I can do the best on being on every relay for the team. And
mm,
that's just kind of point blank, whatever that means. Implication wise on individual events, I don't really care
mm.
what happens. Like I'll do my part, I'll get it done individually. But I really think like a relay is where I can thrive the most. And um, it was a great meet. I mean, it was definitely the best meet I think ASU's ever had since I've been here. I've ever
Mm.
seen from ASU. I know in like the 80s or the 90s, like there were some exciting things that the program was doing, but haven't seen that since. But definitely in my mind, the best meet this program's ever done, and just exciting from the first day. I mean, going into finals like the 200 IM the first day, knowing we had the top 3 finalists, going 1, 2, 3 in that with Leon and David Schleck, and then Jack Dolan winning the 50 freestyle that night too. We won 4 out of the 5 events that
Mm.
night. Um, and I think the only event we didn't win was the 4 medley, and that was because NC State had a phenomenal leadoff leg. And then I had like a little. I had like a slower exchange on my part too. And I think just having those 2 aspects are hard to overcome, but superficial in the grand scheme of things of like accomplishing what our team can accomplish. But we typically don't have a great first day. Like for whatever reason, we just haven't been able to click on all cylinders going into it. And when it was happening, I was just like, what is like, this is insane. This is
Mm.
great. Like if we're attacking and we're hitting the marks, firing all the cylinders on day one, like I guess made a bold assumption, but like in my mind, I was like, this week's going to be good. Like this
Mm.
week's going to be something special. I don't know what tomorrow's going to bring, but it's definitely starting off on a significantly better foot than I've ever seen before, and a much more exciting point to see the team on the side of the pool like ecstatic, electric, cheering the whole time. I don't think I've visibly seen like Bob like display as much like energy and emotion as that. I'm sure he does, like pouring so much into practices and the training and concern for all the athletes. But you don't always see that from like the leaders or the head coaches especially. But like to see him like show that much passion like with us there meant so much, especially with all the coaches too. Like just to see how much care and like emotion they were letting out was honestly like very motivational for me.
I just took a photo of you while you were talking and sent it to Bob, actually. He'll love it. You were talking about him, so I'm like, I'll send him a photo. That's cool. That's awesome, man. So, well, tell me about this kid, this freshman Iama. Who the hell's this?
Yeah. So Leon, my little French friend. But yeah, he's been awesome. I didn't know much about Leon before he came here. Started popping off on the Duolingo French app to try to get some work in, some vocabulary work in there, so I could at least help out somewhere and easing the communication barrier on my end of things. Bob's actually like pretty fluent in French, so it's kind of cool to see them like interact some days in practice and on the deck. Cool. But yeah, I didn't know much about him other than he was just phenomenal athlete, a good guy, and I mean, I once he got here, I was just like, I want to befriend him. I hope he there's nothing ill will against it at all. I was just like, I know nothing about him, and since he's gotten here, he's been nothing but welcoming, nothing but accepting, and only wanting to help the team. I think like, it's I didn't expect anything different, but sometimes like you just get guys that are really good, and sometimes they're more to themselves or more like self-oriented, and he's just like the exact opposite. He's just so friendly, so kind, so motivational, and it's just really awe-inspiring to see like a higher caliber than I've ever attained, being able to train with that daily, to have him be younger than myself, and to be able to compete against that daily. Like, I know he always asks me like how I do in practice, even though we're not in the same groups. And then when we get to come together on race day and kind of like see where we're at, is really motivational. I know he always takes it seriously when we compete, and that respect means a lot to me, and I give that as well. And he's very like empowering to how good I guess he makes you feel about yourself. Like he'll ask about times, and he'll be pretty like very supportive or pretty shocked at some of the times they'll do in practice. Like I think a week before the meet, Ryan Held and I did 100 IM suited against each other as like my last preparatory thing before the meet. And I told him my time, and he was like, "Oh my God, you need to, are you swimming the 200 IM at the meet?" And I was like, "Yeah." And he's like, "Good. I want you to, I want to race you." And he's like, "You're going to be so fast." And I was like, "Thanks. Like, that's awesome to hear." He's just been such a great energy, obviously time wise. Yes. But beyond that, the intangible aspects, he's just fit in seamlessly and only amplified the team.
I love to hear that about the foreign athletes when they come in and just embrace the team culture and they thrive in it as well. I mean, that was my experience coming in from Australia. Just like, what is this? I mean, I ate it up. I needed it. And so, but also it can be intimidating to some foreign athletes, and they don't always connect with it, and then they get homesick. So to hear of an athlete coming in and just thriving in that condition, I love it, man. It's awesome. So
yeah, on day 2 of the meet, we had the 8 free relay, and he anchored our relay, which was pretty cool for me. I was waiting to be on like a relay with him. And afterwards I like looked up, like told him good job when we were warming down, and he looked up at me and he's like, "Oh my God, that was the most exciting event I've ever done." And I was like, they have the background, like this guy's gotten 6th at the Olympics, he's semifinal. And like to hear that, like just in the environment with the crowd, like the team, like the event, the significance of it, like that was awesome to hear. Like that was so cool. That like almost kind of like in a weird way, like moved me emotionally. I was like, wow, like for this guy to say that, like that was very compelling for me, of like, as someone who's been wanting to come here at ASU and not be the initiative of making this team as great as it could, was really compelling to see one of the best athletes in the world say like that event, the relay, for the team, like was one of the most important, like craziest events he's done.
Awesome, man. And you got a good teammate when they start talking that way. So, and it's someone that's going to fight for you, So,
Yeah.
Wait till he gets to NCAAs. Then, if you felt that way, he's going to be in for a shock.
Yeah, that's for sure. That's for sure.
That'd be awesome. Sounds like you guys have a team too. It's not just one or two swimmers now. Like it seems like you guys have a team that can contend. Where are you guys hoping to aim? I'm not, asking you to give me exacts, but it's like you want to be top 10. You think that's realistic this year?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think the forefront of our mind is just win as much as possible, win in whatever way we can, however it means necessary. Like I think that's just, if we just keep focusing on our process and what we can control and moving like day to day, then that's going to lead to the best outcome regardless of what anyone else does. That was the biggest theme we had this week is just what have we been doing? We know where we need to control, like perform to your best abilities and go on with it. And like, that's just what we'll continue to do. But yeah, I mean, we want to score as high as we can, score like our highest place in our team's history is 6th, I think. So scoring as high as that, trying to be better than that, and just trying to be the best version of our program as we can. So that's 6th place is the current marker, and then I don't know if we've ever won Pac-12s, but I guess 2nd, or if we've won, then just meeting that marker too. But I think I met with one of the national champions that ASU had, like coincidentally, like a week before the meet, the invite. And he swam the 200 free and 200 IM as well. I think his name was Michael Owen. Mm-hmm. And he said they got 3rd at Pac-12s that year and then got 6th at NCAAs, which is just a testament to how just stupid fast the conference is.
Yeah.
Like, to only have 3 other teams outside your own conference beat you. But I think that's just it hasn't changed. Like that's still the thing. Like Cal's winning NCAA championships, Stanford's really in a good spot with Coach Schemmel, has just been doing an amazing job out there. But they're a really strong contender as well. USC, the times they put down at their invitational, very strong as well. So it's a tight race in the conference.
Yeah, for sure. That'll be a fun one. So it's heating up, man. The NCAA season's heating up. There was some times being blown out. I'd love to see it this weekend. So one of the other things that came up as I was doing a little research on you, just popped up that you're in some NCAA lawsuit. Can you just touch on that for me? What's going on there?
Yeah, it's essentially for name, image, and likeness for athletes. And I was basically approached and just asked to be like kind of a representing voice of it, a kind of figure to it. And this case with athletes across the country, not just swimmers. And, as an Olympic sport and a swimmer, I understand my spot in my place and kind of in my lane of what it is. But I think they just wanted to get some perspective on an Olympic athlete. And, I have friends who are musically talented, artistically talented, like talented beyond all my imagination or comprehension outside of the sport. And the fact that they can't take advantage of it, I think, is very limiting into their like human potential. And just anyone else who has a wealth of ability in their talent and skill set within their sport. I think swimming as a non-revenue sport, basically only having maybe one major revenue sport at your school, but football and basketball being the 2 main ones, they'll probably see significant benefit from it. But really, it's just about empowering the athlete and giving them total autonomy of being able to use all their abilities and all their skills, all their talents that they have to offer to bring to the table. Because no one's just a basketball player. No one's just a swimmer. We're so much more than that. And I don't think people realize that. And I think this is a huge landscape to allow people to extend their avenues, extend their outlets, and really kind of shine like that. And, we were talking about it when the Supreme Court supports in favor of it unanimously 9-0. It's kind of like, well, yeah, like I think a lot of people see this as a really beneficial thing. And so, I was kind of approached and they wanted my perspective on it. And that's kind of how I got with the terminology there.
How many other athletes are involved in this one?
I think right now there's Sedona Prince. She's a basketball player at Oregon. Right. On the women's basketball team. And then I think there's another football player. I'm not sure for when, but I just heard his name involved with it too. I think there's a couple people like on petition too, like quite a couple dozen, like dozens and hundred athletes with that, like support it. But whether athletes like support it or not, like they've made the decisions. Our governing body of the United States has like made the decisions on supporting it. So it's kind of just like, in my mind, it's kind of just like waiting until every formality is ironed out. But yeah.
So when are you getting a check from the NCAA? When's that coming?
For me, I don't know, being a swimmer, if I'll ever see one, because honestly, in my mind, it's not for me. Like it's to help benefit all the other athletes. And like, yeah, like I can utilize some of the things that I have to offer. Like, I don't know, like my talents, my abilities, but that's still within the realm of swimming. So it's unfortunately like not too much. I mean, being 6'6", if I played basketball, like sure, that'd probably help me out a lot, or football, but being a swimmer, like I know it's not going to benefit me exponentially, but it can in some ways here and there. But most importantly, like there are athletes out there that can be, helping feed families, helping make their livings a lot better, extend their education time as well. If like those players that are thinking about doing the one and done, or like have to graduate in 3 years to get to the pros or start working their ways there. Like this provides another opportunity to continue their education and have like financial means to support them. And I don't feel like that's like really talked about enough. And that's something that I thought about pretty early on and was pretty passionate about. Like that was a pretty strong motivator for me as an option. I don't know if many people will take that, but it's an option now that people didn't have before. And I think that's important. So I don't know about a check that I'm going to be getting as a college swimmer, but I won't turn it if I get one. So turn it away.
When is the final decision coming down on this lawsuit then?
It was originally going to be like 2020, like the suit itself, like I think like 2 or 3 years, and then the Supreme Court, like made their ruling, and it was like, okay, well, and then the NCAA made their calling on like July 1st. We're just like, yeah, we're just gonna allow everything to happen now, and it was like,
right.
Whoa, what is going on? Like,
yeah, it happened quick. I was like, what just happened? And all of a sudden people are signing things, and I'm like, wow.
Yeah. And that's like the craziness of all of it. And that's why it's like, so kind of ambiguous as to when this is like going to be done, because like I said before, like the deed has been done, like it's been enacted. The Supreme Court's ruled on it unanimously. Like in my education of it, I don't know what else like can be done or there is to be done other than like formalities of just like, yeah, we're closing this case. But
that's what I mean, man. That's what I mean. Where's the check coming? It's like, all right, the case is closed. Let's pay him, move on. But sounds like it sounds like it could be exciting for you anyway. But the impact of it, even still, is that you've signed with a couple of brands, right? Like you're using, well, they're using your image and likeness to kind of promote their products now. So talk to me about a couple of the brands you're working with.
Yeah, so some of like I'm working with one company for nutrition, like Wyman's Fruits Company. I do a smoothie every day and like getting like products from them for like supplementation, like human beet powders, like huge for sports performance. There's a lot of like evidence and scientific data on that. Restoic, I've actually partnered with them for mental health and like using their app, and talking with the co-founder Ian Goldberson there too, and just helping like create content for better athlete health and mental awareness on the athlete struggles. So those are three that I'm pretty passionate about. I actually wear this like every day. It's my friend Jake Heidecker's company called Jelly House. So I always joke with him. I've always joked with him for a while. Like he brings the jelly and I'll bring the house. And it's just like kind of a match made. But I grew up with him in Indiana. We swam since we were 8 years old together. He went to Purdue and swam, and then started his own film production company and makes like some of the best quality and like most unique compilations of videos for like artists, for events that I've really ever seen. And I reached out to him. I was like, can I like help you in any way, like grow your brand or whatever? And I was like, even if it's just like posting, like I don't care what anything. And he's like, sure. And then we got on a call, like caught up for like an hour. And he's like, at the end, he was like, do you want anything from this? And I was like, not really. I just want to help you. And he's like, I started a clothing line. I'll send you some sweatshirts or whatever. So
what's his name?
Jake Heidecker.
Jake, I like sweatshirts, man. Come on, look at me. I got a podcast, Jake. I can get some jelly sweatshirts.
Yeah, just flash it up there, flashing the jelly. So exactly. Just gotta spread the love. But yeah, them, a couple other like nutritional bars for helping with fueling training. I have that like every morning, like Bobos or Atlas bars. So it's just like, it's just small things that kind of add up throughout the week. Like I had that this morning before practice, and then have it again before practice this afternoon. And it saves money along the way and promotes health, well-being. And all of them are typically things that I stand for and support. And that's the most important thing, I think, when you're creating an image or partnering with anyone. So, I mean,
sure. Yep.
yeah, it's definitely an interesting field to kind of navigate and learn from experience through. So there's been a lot of rejection, that's for sure. That's been kind of fun to go through, laugh about, for sure.
I'm still looking for a major sponsor of my podcast, even though it's the #1 podcast in the world. I'm still looking for a major sponsor. Anyone out there, come on. But I'm used to a little rejection. It's okay. We'll get there. Keep fighting, man. You're doing good stuff. Is your favorite event the 200 free short course?
That is a common thought. My favorite event is not actually the 2 free. It's definitely the 200 IM.
Really? Dang.
Yeah. I love the 200 IM. I think it's so fun. 200 IM and 100 fly, actually.
What'd you go this weekend in the IM?
142.0, I think.
I mean, that's solid, but you went 131 in the 2 free, didn't you?
Yeah.
That's a little bit more legit, like you're pressing on that, you can be top 3 or 4 in the country with a time like that. That's moving, man.
Yeah, I mean, I think both of them are in a good spot, a good foundation to pivot from and really accelerate off of this point in the season for the next 3 months of the body of work. But yeah, I mean, I think I'm becoming a better short course swimmer now, but I think I just flow better with long course swimming. And I mean, I finished 9th straight up in the 200 IM. That was my highest placement. And then with scratches and stuff, I finished 9th in the 200 freestyle at trials. So, I mean, technically my highest national ranking I've had has been in the 2 IM. But I mean, I had a world ranking of a couple, like in 2018 in my 2 free. But yeah, I mean, I think half splitting hairs at that point. I don't know. I think I'm kind of, I love the 100 butterfly, but we have so many good butterflyers now that it's not necessary for the team for me to swim that. But I think I could rip something like pretty good nationally for that too.
Man, all it takes is one swim and you become something that you always wanted to be. So,
Amen to that.
You drop a 44, man, you're going to be 100 butterfly real quick. So
yeah, so I was kind of thinking of that when we were talking about the 200 medley, and I really want to be on all the relays. Maybe it's like a little selfish, but I was like, I really think I can just game on a relay, and they were like, no, we'll save you for like the 200. You're gonna have 3 200s that day with the 4x2, and that won't be happening at PAX or NCAAs, but for this meet. And I was like, just put me on it. Like the relays are time finals. Like if I'm not gonna do it here, like why are we training? Like,
right.
And so I left prelims. I was like, hey Bob, am I on the 2 medley? He's like, no, we're not gonna worry about that tonight. And I was like, okay. And then like an hour later, he texts me. He's like, hey, you're anchoring the 2 medley, and I was like, all right, awesome. And then that night I was like behind the relay. I was like, man, I got to make this count. And I went my fastest split ever.
Did you drop what, 19.1?
That was the 2 free. I went an 18.6 on the medley, anchoring.
Did you really? 18.6. Dang.
So I was pretty stoked about that. And then the rest of the night just kind of followed, like the 131.8, and then an hour later on the relay, 131.7. That was pretty cool. I didn't know I went faster until after the event.
Wow.
But yeah, I was, and then to anchor the relay on the last night, I was definitely like a little bittersweet that I went like a 42.0 flat start in the 100 earlier that night, and wanted to just like, Herbie told me, just gave me a green light season. And he just said, just go out as fast as you humanly can and see what happens. You're not going to die. So almost got to 40-point land, but just a couple hundredths off on that too. So
Did you really? What'd you split?
The split was a 41.0. So I was
holy shit, man,
right
that's moving. There. That's legit moving.
Thank you. It was pretty fun. It was pretty electric. I couldn't feel my hands for the first 50 from like kind of excitement. So, but yeah, it was a great atmosphere to throw that down, compete against NC State and Stanford, and yeah, that was really fun. I was kind of had to laugh because in the 2 free relay I went like a 19.1, and then I flipped to my feet in a 19.4, and I couldn't tell you the difference of what happened because I took 3 more breaths in the 4x1. But I guess that's just how the nature of the beast sometimes.
I always tell people, you want to do a good 100, you got to attack, man. You got to
You
attack.
have to.
You know,
You
it's
have
it's
to.
it's an all-out 50 with breathing. That's what it is. It's
Yeah,
all out, just all out 50 with breathing.
it
And
really is.
but it pays off. You know, like it hurts, but it pays off. You always swim fast.
Yeah, I know. I got back after my 100 individual, and we went 2, 3, 4, which is pretty cool too, um, in the event. But I came back and I like touched, and I was like, man, that was like a perfect race for me in this moment. Like I
Hmm.
feel like I executed everything we talked about, changed everything, dropped like 8 tenths from this morning, and I went back, and everyone just kind of felt like that same way. It was like it was good, like good job, best time, but it was like more to be had. And
Yeah.
Bob was just like, yeah, you just got to go out faster. And I thought I went out. I was like so proud of how I like went out. I thought in my head, and he showed me the split, and I was like, okay, that's kind of slow. So on the relay, I was like, all right, I'll just make sure I do what Bob said.
Hmm.
Went out a second faster and went a second faster in my event. So
Awesome. Yeah. I love that. That's awesome. It's just the way to do it, man. Just race hard. And it's a good lesson for the next few months, you know, coming up in the lead up to NCAAs is like keep that mentality. So sounds like you're in a good spot, man. Sounds like you're happy. You got a great team, obviously being well coached. It seems like things are clicking for you again. You're in the right place at the right time. So this is your senior year, isn't it?
yeah, it's my senior year academically.
Oh, so you have two more swim seasons?
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
this one and the next one?
hmm
Cool. Okay. Are you going to
yeah,
take both? Are you going to do them both?
yeah. That's the plan. Old man in the sea strategy out here. So I'll take this one
Dang.
and then the one after that too. I only
Good for
see
you.
things getting better for this team, so I'd like to be a part of it and help spearhead that movement.
It's good for you and good for ASU, man. Good stuff. Well, best luck to the team, man. Best luck to you this season. Be following. Keep doing what you're doing. It's good stuff. You know, super positive, but also real. So keep being yourself, man. It's good. All right.
Appreciate that. Thanks, Brett.
All right, Grant. Take care, man. Later.